Hello, guys. Welcome back to the Uncensored Critic podcast. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. It means the world. Thank you very much, as always. And today, it gives me fantastic pleasure to welcome along the brilliant director by the name of Grace Duggan. And let's take a moment to introduce Grace and her work. So, Grace trained at East 15 and has been a Boris Karloff trainee assistant director at the Young Vic, a catalyst director at the Northwall, and participated in TalentLAB at Théâtre National du Luxembourg. Sorry, I can't speak Scandinavian. Grace, of course, she's gone on to be a theatre director and community artist from East London. Her work is rooted in collaboration, bold storytelling, and amplifying voices, and she has worked with theatres and communities across the UK. And previously, back in 2024, she was the resident assistant director at the world famous Donmar Warehouse. More on that place in just a moment. As an assistant director, she has worked on shows such as Natasha, Pierre and the Great Comet of 1812, The Fear of 13, starring Adrian Brody, Skeleton Crew and The Human Body at the Donmar Warehouse, What If Only at the Royal Court, and Ivan and the Dogs at the Young Vic. As an associate director, Inter Alia at the National, and currently on its Western run at the Wyndhams, and soon to be going to Broadway, Otherland at the Almeida. And yeah, that's just a little small sample of. Oh no, wait, there's another bit here. Theatre and other shows include Holy Show, a UK tour, Weeping Woman at Theatre 503, Wild Actually at Islington Pleasance, Afterbirth at Omnibus and Northwall on UK tour, and Lysistrata at the Arcola, and Wood at the Vault Festival. And that's just a small sample of Grace's work, and we welcome her along today. Hello, Grace.
Hi, thanks so much. It's actually, yeah, it's like, wow, we're going in, which I love. But thanks so much for saying all of that. It's funny to hear it all out loud, actually.
Yeah, no, hey, it's all you, mate. It's all you.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's all
Wild,
your work.
wild. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, man. We've got so much to get through today. I love it. So, but we start at the beginning. So, in your case, Grace, where did it come from? The love of directing, the arts, being in this business? Where did it come from?
Yeah. I mean, I always find this question so funny because I think whatever mood I'm in, I sort of like you notice different things from like my like childhood and my like being a young person. But I think
Yeah.
ultimately the kind of answer is always that I mean my first quick answer is that my brother joined the local theatre because he was very like out there, and he still is. He's a great performer, and he's sort of a he's in a band and stuff like that, and he's an English teacher now, but I see that as kind of performing, and he sort of is a performer. He sort of likes to talk in front of people in the best way.
Yeah.
And I think he joined this drama club, and me being the little sister was like, well, I'll do that too, obviously. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I actually was very sporty. I
Ooh.
actually always thought I was going to be in sports. I found loved team sports, loved kind of like that world. And then my brother joined this drama club embarking at the Broadway Theatre, which is where I grew up. And I will talk about Barking loads because it's a huge part of my identity. I think
Go for it.
anyone that knows me that's listening to this will be like, well, she's only taken 10 seconds to bring up Barking. But yeah, I sort of joined that youth theatre and fell in love with theatre. And I think I fell in love with theatre because I think from a participation like standpoint, like kind of as a young person and being a young person in that environment, like it is very collaborative. It is about working together. It does have a lot of things that sport offers people, but it doesn't necessarily require you to be that good at it, which I think is really interesting. Like I think there's always, as a young person in theatre, there's no judgment on you being good at it at that early stage. Like when you're just there at a club on a Saturday, you know, playing park bench or whatever it is that you play in those environments. But I sort of, yeah, I fell in love with it a little bit. And I fell in love with that theatre. And then I sort of from there would spend all my time there. I spent all my time there. Sharon Kanalik was one of the participation, worked in participation there at the time. And I'm very grateful to her for like kind of my career in a way, because she sort of let me assist the younger groups. I started as I got older and grew up in that environment. I used to run workshops and assist the course leaders and all of those sorts of things. And I think that's probably how I found my way to directing, really. And yeah, and then it sort of went from there. But I think that sort of love for it came from that part of my life. I also, I mean, my parents would say that, yeah, I used to put on the nativity to my family every Christmas, which is crazy. But I used to find old scripts of the nativity and I used to edit them. And then I used to direct the family in them and everyone would be in them. My little cousin was once the angel Gabriel, but as a dinosaur, which was kind of crazy. But yeah, I think I always liked the bigger picture. Like I always liked looking at the whole thing and looking at the whole world, and figuring out how to make the story make sense. So yeah, that's kind of it succinctly. I mean, I could keep going through, but that I kind of started off in participation land, I think, kind of in youth groups that were reasonably priced. They weren't kind of like your big, massively priced spaces. They were just like, you know, cheap, cheerful, well led drama club, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sometimes that's all you need.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I always thought I was going to be an actor as well for a long time because I didn't really know anything else. Like, I kind of looking
Yeah.
back at that time, I'm like, I was a director, but at the time I didn't know that. I thought, oh, maybe I could be an actor, because that was the what you were there to be. You weren't really there to be anything else. And I tried to get into Brit School in South London. I didn't get in. I did a monologue of like a 50-year-old woman and like had my interview and was like, I don't know where I am. I've never really ever seen a play. I've only ever seen like a musical. So I don't really know what I'm doing. That's sort of like, this is really weird. Yeah. And then I sort of, yeah, I mean, alongside that, I did really always think I was going to go into sport. So I was always like working side by side. I was like, I'm either going to be a physiotherapist or a theatre director or an actor. So I was sort of like two very different paths. And
Like
then
chalk and
somehow
cheese, that, yeah.
I know it's so funny. And then somehow I've turned out here, which is but yeah, I'm very grateful. I had a good few people when I sort of was trying to figure out what I was going to do and whether I was going to go to university or what I was going to do. And it was Sharon Canlick who said to me, she actually had moved to the Young Vic, who's the Broadway theatre. They actually closed the youth theatre there, and it was when they kind of scrapped the funding for programs like that. And that would have been in like 2010, around 2010. They sort of like changed all the funding models and they kind of scrapped it. And I was a bit lost, and I managed to get back in touch with her when I was about 18, and I had decided not to go. I tried to get into drama school but hadn't got in, so I took a year out. I was working at Argos full time, which I love. Argos, big fan. I worked at Argos for 6 years and I love it.
Wow.
But I went to the Young Vic and managed to meet her for a coffee. And she sat me down and she said, "You're a theatre director." And I said, "What? I don't even know what that is." And then she was like, "You're a theatre director. You should apply for this introduction to directing and just like see what you think about it, because you've always run workshops with the younger lot. You've always talked about story. You've done all these things, And I got onto the intro to directing there. So then that's sort of the beginning of how it sort of like. But yeah, Sharon is she's the person that I feel very grateful to, because she's the person who just was able to see me for me, as a young person, which I'm very grateful for. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. So, where's the love of barking come from?
I know. Well, my love of barking, I guess it's home. So it's sort of like it's so Barking and Dagenham, it's in like East London. It borders on kind of Essex. And I sort of Yeah, I think growing up, we all were told to dislike where we were from. We were told that we were meant
Really?
to aspire to be something different. Like, I don't know, like people would just be like, if you do well and you succeed, you won't have to live in Barking anymore. And I was like, but I like Barking. Barking's great.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think because I've done a lot of work there since, kind of have since I kind of I guess a lot of like theatre and stuff and a lot of like the community work that I do is still in Barking and Dagenham, and I still have a big kind of attachment to that place because it is home and the people that live there are home to me.
Mm,
I think it's got life, it's got soul, it's got community. It's got its struggles. It's one of those outer London places that is sometimes in disrepair and has its struggles. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't deserve art and culture
indeed.
and cultural experiences. So I think, yeah, that my love for it comes from there, really.
Yeah, let's keep it. The arts is for everyone, not for the
Absolutely. Yeah,
indeed.
exactly.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
feel like now this is a whole other conversation, but there's so many things that theatres can do to be more accessible and more, get the prices down, for one thing.
Hmm.
But yeah, but it belongs to everybody. But let's not get into that. We could be here just talking
Yeah,
about theatre ticket
yeah,
prices for a
absolutely.
long
Yeah, I
time.
could talk about that for ages, for
Oh
sure,
no,
for sure.
it's a story in of itself, isn't it? But
Yeah,
yeah, so you went to East 15. How was your time there?
yeah. Yeah, so I went to East 15. I did acting and community theatre actually. So I
Yeah.
did the acting community theatre course there. Um, and I absolutely loved it. For me, I had done the intro to directing course at Young Vic, and then I'd gone off to go and try and get onto a 3-year course, and I got into East 15, which I'm very grateful for. I loved it. I loved it from a lens of being a theatre director and like kind of somebody who works in like community arts, so does a lot of like facilitation and workshop leading alongside directing. It worked really well for that. I think get to do the acting course, so you get to learn what that is. You get to do kind of like a year and a half of what the acting course does to 2 years, whilst also then the other 2 years you are working in the community. So you're actively running workshops, delivering with people, you're working with all age groups, you're working with lots of different type of people, you're trying to use different art forms, you're trying to use theatre as a means to spark conversation, you're like doing all of this stuff. And I think what I'm grateful for is it made me a little bit more employable when I left,
Hmm.
which I think some drama school courses, they're very much like, okay, you have to learn this thing, then you go out into the world, you have your headshots, you have your agent, if you get an agent, and then that's it. And then you're gone, and then you're in the world. Whereas in this was like, you can now work with older adults, you can work with children, you can work with people, with different needs. Like you can work with all types of different people, as well as working with actors and as well as, you know, um, making work. So I think it makes you, it was hard work as a course. I think anyone that has done that course will tell you that it's a very hard course. You are juggling a lot. Um, but I think now when I'm faced with a challenge, I think nothing is nothing is as hard as when I was at East 15, when I was running, this different workshop every day, but also needing to do my like articulation classes and also do my like acting degree, like and doing all of it all at once.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, yeah, I really enjoyed it there. Um, since have gone back and kind of like taught on the program, and I think I sort of, yeah, you kind of then go back and the things that weren't quite right when we were there, you kind of go back and try and do differently because I think inevitably kind of there's things that I didn't connect with too, and there's certain modules that I didn't feel like worked, but that's kind of the nature of training a little bit.
Mm.
Uh, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a discovery process. It really is. I'm talking about it on length at length on here, and about how like the journeys that we go on, and just then I think in a previous episode, I think probably with Flora actually very recently, which was about you realize just it's a vulnerable experience. What
It's
you
a
go
really
through,
hard experience,
and
yeah.
the thing is, you don't realize it. Other people might realize it, but from my experience, you don't realize it until you leave, and then you go, hang on a minute. That was we really faced stuff there.
Yeah.
We were, I know there's not too much emphasis on emotional recall and all that stuff. I know some people are better at it than others. Some people have very bad experiences on that, by the way.
Yeah.
But it's but you really do face a lot of things, and then you go, that was took a bit more out of me than I thought. Yeah,
Yeah.
but for all the right reasons, though.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's interesting because my it's funny because I think drama school training is changing, and I do think that that is a good thing. I do think it's sort of shifting slightly, and we're noticing that you can, like, actors can be brilliant actors without kind of hurting themselves in a way. I think it absolutely, the truth of it is that acting does take a toll. Like it does take a physical toll. And
Oh
I
yeah,
think
just yeah,
Lucy sort of spoke about this a little bit, but this idea that your
yeah.
body, if you're replaying something or you're experiencing something through another person every single day, your body may believe that that is true and that you are experiencing that
Mm,
because it is an all body experience. And I
it is.
think that kind of language and that kind of work just is on its way into drama schools and should be a huge part of what is being taught in drama schools. I think there was a little bit of like, yeah, if you reach that point, you're a good actor and you've achieved it, but then what do you do afterwards?
Mm,
Was never really part of it. So I think like that change is a good thing.
mm.
Um, but yeah, I think it's hard. I think you just go and you're suddenly also doing like long days,
Mm.
you're sort of looking at all these different things and you're experiencing all these different things and you're also young and you're in your early 20s and you're like, what is going on?
Yeah,
Why am I here? It's
bit
just like,
crazy. It's a bit
yeah, it's
crazy.
very
Yeah,
intense. Yeah.
you're so grateful and yet so grateful to be there, and at the same time you're like, okay, why am I doing this again?
Yeah. Yeah,
But
exactly.
again,
Exactly.
but it's good fun. But I understand why loads of people want to do it, and I'm very proud to say I have done it as well. So, what would you say was the biggest difference between yourself on day one of East 15 to the
Oh,
last day, like graduation day?
what a question. I love that.
Yeah.
I think on day one, I took things a bit seriously, which I know is going to sound really funny because I think other people would have a different answer. But I think I went into there and was like, I'm at drama school. So therefore, I'm now really serious.
Yeah.
And I think what I realized is actually I grew up a lot. I mean, I think I just also just grew up a little bit. I think I also just like went through big periods of my life, felt like a huge transformative period of my life. I think I sort of did a whole circle back to who I was. I think I sort of like thought maybe I needed to be someone else. Went through that whole journey of like being like, am I someone else? Do I need to be someone else? Do I need to speak better? Do I need to,
Mm.
you know, pretend to be someone I'm not in order to succeed? Do I need to do these things? And then sort of by the end had come back round to being like, nope, I want to be who I am and I want to leave and be myself and then kind of left. So it felt like a bit of a full circle. If you'd kind of met me in the middle there, you'd have been like, who is this girl? She's very unique. Yeah, that's sort of like I think that's probably what it was. Like a kind of yeah, I think I just took it a bit seriously and then I sort of realized I needed to relax a little bit and that I needed to be more present in it and not think about the end. I think I was a bit like always like you have to get to the end and then you get out in the industry and then you have to succeed and that's what you
Mm.
have to do. Um, whereas in it was actually all about making friends and making connections and some of the connections I made then and the things that I spoke about then still come up in my life now and are
Oh yeah.
projects I think about and projects I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that play that we read, like Carol Churchill's like Cloud Nine like just came up.
Hmm.
Obviously it's going on at the National. I was just reminded by reading it that it was just being like, oh my God, yeah, like the connections that you make.
Yeah, it's like you remember like when you do a play or like an extract from like a Shakespeare or a Carol Churchill or anyone, and then so
Yes.
you see it live like a few weeks or like whenever it is, few weeks or months or years out of drama school, and then
Yes.
suddenly you hear that scene again and you're like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
nostalgia. Yeah.
yeah, and you go, oh
Yeah.
wow, yeah. I remember when I did that scene from Julius Caesar, and I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then suddenly all the memories come back and everything. But yeah, but I think more than anything, so you remember the journey. I think more than anything, and it is a cliche, but it's very true. It is a journey,
It
and
is a journey.
but we're always learning new things all the time, and I think also I think it's quite nice to know that. I remember hearing someone say one time, okay, say if you had the answers for everything,
Hmm.
you had the answers for everything, everything you need to know. What the hell would you do next?
Yeah, oh my God. Yeah, that's so interesting. Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
I
and
really like that.
I just thought, oh, that's very good. Yeah, as a spiritual
I really
teacher
like
taught me
that.
that. It's a guy called Matt Kahn, and I just thought, well, yeah, maybe learning isn't such a bad thing after all. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah, it's good fun, man. So, yeah, let's talk about some of your work then. So, you are sort of, again, we'll talk about Enter Alia and stuff in just a second, but you on paper says you're an associate director.
Yes.
What does that mean?
The age-old question is, what is an associate director?
Yeah.
And to be honest, it's such a movable, it's sort of a role that has like things that are definite, and then it sort of is very responsive to what the director and the company and the kind of show needs.
Hmm.
Um, but kind of really what an associate is you're associate to the director. So it means that you work very closely with the director, you work very closely with what that director is trying to achieve with the production, and kind of, I guess, quite literally being at their side, ready to jump in and ready to support where necessary. So I guess that's that kind of like the basic framework. But I think a lot of the time it is also quite admin heavy. It's note taking, it's keeping on top of the book. So a deputy stage manager will hold the book itself, which is the cues and the blocking and everything, which is the big old beautiful Bible book, which is
Hmm.
like very important. But as an associate, I also will keep a book, because I will, in the rehearsal room, be ready there to work with the DSM. If the DSM is also queuing something, doing something else, writing down a note. If someone calls for where am I actually stood, what am I doing? Usually it will be the associate that should know. So you kind of are working with the stage management team, working with the director. I always think like you're kind of a big listener in the room, and you're sort of, an example might be for Inter Alia, for instance, is Justin might be talking to a sound designer about an idea for something in a meeting, and you hear that conversation. So then you go to the stage management team and say, hey, as a heads up, we might do this. We might do this in the room. Is there any way of getting a microphone that's this shape, a microphone that's this size?
Hmm.
And then Justin, 10 minutes later, might say, okay, I actually want to try out this idea. And we're already prepared to put that idea into place.
Hmm.
So there's a little bit of that. I think when we're in tech rehearsals, it's sort of a bit of a buddying system with the director. Like sometimes the director is spinning a lot of plates, and they might say, can I give this plate to you? And you go and spin that plate somewhere else so that the plate is far away. Sort of, yeah, I mean, the directors takes on so much and has so many people that sometimes you become a little bit of a filter for questions. I think sometimes a question will come to me that doesn't need to go to Justin, for example. I'm using Justin example, but any kind of director that you're an associate for. But yeah, so sort of sometimes people will be like, oh, Grace, can I actually ask you this question? Because I might not need to ask Justin it. And then you can kind of, so it's kind of a mix of those things, but also the really important bit is I also rehearse the understudies. So you do that alongside the rehearsal process.
Hmm.
And then when the show opens, you get them ready and you make sure that they also stay ready to go on for the duration of the run. So yeah, you kind of schedule and run that, and you work with the stage management team and the kind of stage team to make that happen. We do an understudy run, so we get them as ready as possible. And then I hold the show. So some associates, it's different. Sometimes there's an associate and a resident, and sometimes a resident will hold the show. But on this, it's just the associate. So I hold the show. What that means is I go and watch it maybe once a week, sometimes twice a week, depending on how everyone is. Usually I pop into a warm up, and then I watch a show another day. So I like just kind of am around just for actors to be able to be like, I had this moment where I realized this thing about this scene, or the little kid has started to smile at me weirdly, or I don't know, say such weird things. Sometimes actors, yeah, they sort of you hold the show, you note the show. So I send like weekly notes to the company, notes about just someone having an outside eye, someone that sat in the audience, someone that knows the show in and out, that's able to say, just so you know, this bit isn't as clear anymore, or this bit we just need to get this back to where it was. Yeah, I think an associate, it's so different. Every time I've been an assistant or an associate, it's been very different depending on the director. Justin is very collaborative. I play like quite a big part in feeling like a big part of that team, like a big part of the director's team, also like with Lucy as kind of movement and intimacy, like kind of we work as a team, and that's kind of what we do. And I think I love that, and it's been very great to be a part of that. And then some directors will use you just for the book more so. They're kind of very like, just for the book, just hold the show. You are a listener, you're much more quiet, but you kind of, sometimes a director might ask you, okay, what do you think about, what are your notes? And then you just have to be ready. You've got all your notes that you've been tallying up, ready to go, and you just say them all as fast as possible. It's kind of the way. Why did you get asked a question? You're just like, here's all my notes, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a real mixed bag. I think that's kind of what it is
in a nutshell.
In a nutshell, that's the saying, isn't it?
No, it's good because I've having had conversations with other associate directors like yourself and everything, it's, when I was a kid growing up, I always thought like it was just the director and the actors.
Yes.
But of course, that's far from the truth. There's a whole team behind this guy, and or this lady or whoever it is, to help build this project in one way or another. So I suppose really, and of course, just before we get into Inter Alia, you worked on Fear of 13 with Justin, who also directed Inter Alia as well. Again, also been on here as well, talking and Fear of 13. Sadly, I didn't get a ticket for that, unfortunately, because as you know, it was at the Donmar, and Donmar's only 250.
Yeah, 250. Yeah,
250 capacity.
251, I think, is 51.
What they. One. But and just a quick plug for the Donmar. It's an absolutely wonderful space. I've talked about it many times on here, and I saw what was the last thing I saw there was Evening All Afternoon, which was very good. And Intimate Apparel that was on there last summer, which was absolutely brilliant as well, starring Faith Mole, who's also been on here. Gosh, she's incredible. I mean, it's just like you find the intimacy. Of course, there's so many studio theatres out there, but there's something about the Donmar which is so unique and brilliant. You're right there. Like you're in that person's living room. And I also saw a Skeleton Crew, which I know you're associate director for as well. You were in the office where all the drama happened in that place. Just shout out to the crew, the crew of Skeleton Crew of that one. That was a very good show. Thank you for that as well. But yeah, Fear of 13. What was that about? Obviously, we won't do any spoilers because I know some people probably want to see it. But what was that show about? Because I think I can't see it, unfortunately.
Yeah, so I mean, it was an amazing show to work on. It was the first time I'd worked with Justin, actually. So yeah, it was sort of kind of we jumped into that, and yeah, it's actually based on a real story about a man called Nick Yaris, who was in prison. He was imprisoned for a murder that he didn't commit, basically.
Hmm.
And it's about his story and it's about his life and it's him speaking from a prison, and it goes on a journey of his kind of life experiences, and then the story unfolds, and there's kind of a love story through it as well, where he meets this person Jackie, whilst he's in prison. So yeah, it's sort of like this like story that kind of goes through, but it jumps in and out of lots of different stories. And Adrian Brody played Nick Yaris, and we had this beautiful ensemble. Yeah, I mean, we loved that show. We were very proud of what we made. I think it's like, yeah, and it sort of existed as it did, and that's kind of it now. Like that version of it is that version of it, and that version probably we won't ever see again. Like that
Mm.
specific version and that directed version. So
Yeah.
it was sort of this beautiful moment to be able to have made that show in there. I think it was what I loved is Miriam Boother, who obviously also designed Inter Alia as well, but
Yeah. Brilliant designer. Brilliant designer.
just yeah, I've worked for Miriam a few times, and just I'm obsessed with her work really.
Yeah.
But she sort of made an extra 2 rows of seats in the Donmar for
Mm.
that show. So it had a walkway that went round, and then there was 2 extra rows of seats going into this central square. And it's sort of, you think that the Donmar can't get any more intimate, and somehow
It did.
it did. And somehow it did, and it just was like kind of amazing where you go like this is, and that's kind of Justin and Miriam working together to be like, what does this need? How do we need to feel like we're properly inside it, and how do we do that?
Yeah.
And just conceptually going, okay, this is what we're going to do. And I think that was an amazing part of that show. And yeah, I spent many an hour with Adrian. He had to learn a lot of lines, and I sat in a room with him for hours and hours and hours learning
Mhm.
those lines. I feel like I could probably say the whole show, if
You
I'm
quote it all
honest.
back. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's it as well. Like as an assistant and as an associate as well. Like that's also what you do sometimes. Like sometimes it's just the actor needs you to be there before the rehearsals start, be there up when rehearsals end. Sometimes, you're just sitting lines, 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 and
Mm.
that is also a part of the job. So it's sort of it's really just so dependent on what the show needs. Um, yeah, and Ed Burnside was an associate on that as well. We had our directing team, there was 3 of us. So we were sort of in this lovely space where there was all 3 of us able to work together. So which was really lovely.
Yeah. I mean, what's it like to work with Adrian?
Yeah, Adrian is like he's so it's so I love that question. I loved Adrian a lot. He was just I just sat in the room with him so many times just learning lines. There was one point where in the room that we were in, and he like played the piano. So he played like a bit of like the thing from The Pianist,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
which was just wild. I was like, what is happening? And why is this happening? But also you kind of, I think just you end up when you're working with people, you just get to a point where you just don't like, I didn't really realize that that was kind of cool until afterwards. Like you
Mm.
sort of at the time, I'm like, oh, okay, but come on, Adrian, like
Stop
it's
playing piano for
8 a.m.
Christ's
and
sake.
we need to learn some lines, It's like stop playing the piano. But then at the same time, then you tell people that story later and they go like, do you know how cool that is? And you're like,
Yeah,
oh, I didn't really think about it at the time because I was sort of just at work. So it's
yeah,
sort
yeah,
of
yeah.
like,
Okay.
um,
I think
but
he
yeah,
did
it was,
actually learn some piano. I think he actually did actually learn the
yeah,
piano for that part as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
So he still got it a little bit. He still remembers part
Uh,
of it. So, because I've heard it. So,
there
um,
you go.
it was, yeah, it was great. It was a great show. It was an intense show. I think just new writing in general, you sort of just jump straight in and you're making a whole new piece of work. So,
Mm.
yeah, inevitably, it's just like, here we go, let's do it, let's make it in 6 weeks, which I think this industry is wild. We make work so quickly compared to
Yeah.
like other countries. We're just like,
We just get on with it.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're just like in, there we go, and on, and then
Yeah.
let's see what happens. So yeah.
No, it's actually, I think, I've asked a few directors this, but I'm sure this falls into your category as well. But so when you work with actors, be it the main company or when you do the understudy runs or whatever it is, do you
Mhm.
want your preference is do you want the actors to be off book on day one, or do you give them some leeway, maybe a week or so? Then after week two, it's like, all right, come on, you've got to have
Yeah,
these in your head now and in your body.
yeah, it's a bit of a catch 22. in the sense that it's sort of I've started to like to direct more when people are off book. Because I think you just are able to properly play with what you're looking at. Like you're able to not be watching them learn it. But there's sort of this midpoint where if the actor puts the script down too soon, you are just watching them search for lines, which then means you don't quite get to rehearse.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's sort of this like, which is kind of why doing like some scheduled line learning time amongst the day actually does work quite well because then the
oh,
actor knows,
100%.
okay, I've got that bit of time. That's when I'm going to do line learning. Then when I'm in the rehearsal room, when I'm on the set doing the things, I'm going to actually just think about where I'm going, what I'm doing, how it's connecting to what I'm saying, you know. So yeah, I think understudy wise, I think it's so difficult sometimes to learn the lines without doing the thing because they don't get the chance to get up as often as we would hope,
Mm.
and you don't have as much rehearsal time with the set and stuff like that. So they kind of have to do it that way. They kind of have to get off book and then get on the stage, which is a difficult way to do it. Yeah, I guess I didn't really answer yes or no, but I think
No, no, it's fine.
it's sort of like a mid it's a mid I think I probably do prefer people to be off book, but you don't want them to be in like have chosen a pattern of speech that then they can't get out of
Mm.
as well.
Yeah, because I think and I learned this at drama school as well, is that you learn that if you kind of learn them in a rhythm, then you're kind of, and no, no,
Yes.
not as in like a speed run rhythm, because I think that in my opinion, that's a little bit different. But if you learn them
Yes.
in like a rhythm of like ba bum ba bum ba bum ba bum ba bum, then you're like, okay, you're not speaking anymore.
No,
You're just reciting lines
you're
on a
just
page.
reciting. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas
Yeah.
I don't know if you did this with Adrian, but did you ever, or with Rosamund, or with Flora, or no, the actors you've worked with recently? But I learned about speed running it. So I remember
Mhm.
doing a duologue with someone at drama school. We did this two-hander scene. It was like 4 or 5 pages, just the two of
Mhm.
us. And sometimes we would rehearse it, and then we would finish our allotted rehearsal time. Then we go in the corridor, and we'd just be pacing on either side of each other, going
Yeah, yeah.
just to make. And it wasn't like I've talked about it on here as well, but like when you speed it, like to be or not to be, that is the question. Whether there's number the mind, living hours, outrageous fortune. No emotions, no lines, just
Mm.
speed. Because then I learned, because that's when your body sort of knows you're not. You get to a place where you're not thinking about the next line because you
Yes.
just already know it's in there, and
Yeah.
yeah. And was that something you implemented as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think speed running is actually really important. I think it sort of does this. It's really good for you're right. It's really good for breaking the rhythm, like breaking your own rhythm, so that you just get to
Yeah,
you're not thinking about the rhythm in which you're speaking. You are thinking about getting through. And actually, sometimes I think a speed run is helpful, or sort of a in general for actors, like something that allows them to loosen up, like, and sometimes a speed run lets you do that because there's no right or wrong. It's very much just sort of like just get it out there, have a play with the other actor, do it really fast. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's intense, sometimes you're like, oh, I've just stepped off, or what's happened. But actually it just allows you um just to embody the words in a different way than another way. Yeah, I love a speed run. I think it's really good for learn. I think it's very good for learning. Um, yeah, and I mean every actor learns so differently.
mm,
Uh,
yeah. And I
yeah.
think hopefully we'll be able to see a recording of Fear of 13 at some
Yes.
point. Yeah, there'll be
Yes.
a way to see it at some point, I hope. But any info on that, please do let me know. But I think that'd be really good. So we jump today to Inter Alia, or is it
Mhm.
Inter Alia? How do you say it?
Inter alia is what, so we when we were at the NT, we went all the way through rehearsals calling it inter alia, and then a couple of judges and a couple of kind of law world people came in and said, "Oh, it is kind of inter alia," but amongst us, we do sometimes say alia, but I think technically it is alia.
Alia.
apparently. But I mean,
I don't know. Potato,
who knows?
potato. What's the difference?
Yeah, yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Prima facie. I don't know.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. Yeah, it's a whole
Still the
thing.
same thing, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, indeed. So, inter alia. So we'll start again. So again, this is another episode on this play. So just letting you know, guys, there will be some small spoilers ahead. So if you haven't seen the play or you want to see a recording of it, wherever it is, and you haven't seen it, don't want to know anything, just letting you know now. Okay. It's a story about a judge this time. So there are some, like I said before, there are prima facie elements, but it's in the same sort of universe, but it's a little bit, it's its own beast in many ways. It's a story about Jessica Parks, who is a judge, and she is on at the top of her game. She has the best record at work. She has an amazing house. She has a brilliant marriage to her husband, and she has a brilliant son called Jamie?
Harry.
Harry,
Harry.
thank you. That was probably the
There we
actor's
go.
name. Harry,
Yeah.
and everything seems to be going absolutely brilliantly. Something happens one night, and the world is flipped upside down. That's what I'll say for now. So, how did you get involved with Inter Alia?
Yeah, so I guess I had worked with Justin on Fear of 13. So I'd worked with Justin at Donmar the year before.
Yeah.
And Justin had said, I'm maybe going to work on something next year. And, I might put your name forward for it if it's something you're interested in, and blah, blah, blah. And then kind of he went off, and he's like the busiest human ever. So he goes off, and then I was off trying to figure out what I was doing post Donmar, kind of like what I wanted to do because I was the resident there. And then I sort of like um got a call from the NT, and I'd already been trying to get in there as a staff director for a few years, and had sort of chatted with Katie Domain, who does that, and then kind of they got in touch with me, and they said, "Hey, you've been put forward for this, but we are interviewing." So they still interviewed a few people. They put a few people forward themselves, as well as Justin putting a few people forward. So I met with Harriet Mackey, who is one of the senior producers at the National, and we met and we caught up and chatted, and yeah, and then they offered me the job. So
Hmm.
yeah, it was really exciting, and it was great. I was really excited to get the chance to work with Justin again, actually, because I think as a director you kind of go through you sort of go through your career, and you sort of meet lots of different directors, and you get to work with lots of different directors, and the idea that's said is that you'll find a few directors that you'll end up working with again and again, in the same way that Justin worked with Stephen Daldry for so long, and then now they kind of co-direct work.
Indeed.
um, but it's that sort of it's always this myth that will you ever find your directors that you want to work with again and again, and Justin's one of those people that I feel sort of like our taste is very similar, but also I think we work well together, and I think that sort of working on Inter helped us realize that too, which is really nice.
Mm.
But yeah, so then they offered me the job. So I interviewed for it, really. I mean, obviously it did get recommended for it, and that's kind of part of what happens in theatre, really, which is I think the difficult thing about directing. It's been a blessing for me, but also I do think it's quite hard for directors to sort of you find work because someone recommends you for that job and you still interview for it, but that is sort of the way it goes at the moment.
Mm.
So yeah, so that's how I got onto Inter Alia.
Brilliant. Yeah. And of course, the play, of course, is written by Susie Miller, the brilliant, brilliant Susie Miller.
Oh my God.
I've seen, of course, some videos have circulated on the national social media of like inside the rehearsal room and stuff. I know who Susie was present for. I mean, was she present for many of the rehearsals?
Yeah, she sort of would come in and out, and especially because it was a new piece of writing, we sort of there was always things needed to, kind of questions that would arise and stuff like that that we would share with Susie. And even in moments when she wasn't in the room, there was always a way of trying to ask questions and get back to her so that those things could go into the script. But yeah, she was in the room, and she was back in the room again for the Wyndhams, because we sort of made a few changes, and there's bits of the script that have changed all the way throughout, all the way to when we opened, and I have no doubt that we will edit even more little bits when we go onto Broadway. To be honest,
Really?
it's just the nature of new writing. It's just the it's little corners that just go, oh, that helps that make sense, and that helps that make sense, and you know.
Yeah. I don't know, but you've got a hit already on your hands. I mean, do you need to keep changing?
I think that what we are a bit like, and I think um I hope Justin won't mind me saying this about him too, but
It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
love to we I think with something like this, like we just love to be responsive to what is happening in the moment and how it
Of course.
responds to the world in the moment that it's being presented. And I
Yeah, yeah,
think
yeah.
you always just have to check in with that so that it doesn't feel like it's sort of timed out. And I know it's only been a year and a half, but the world just, this world we live in, it just changes so quickly.
So fast, so quickly.
And I think what also is what we're very blessed with is having an actor like Rosamund, who is so
Hmm.
diligent and so responsive and brilliant, that she's a big believer in that theatre is, you know, as I am, that this sort of like you have to constantly find and discover new things
Oh,
within what
definitely.
you're doing for it to feel present. And I think that means that it always evolves and it always grows and it always finds something new to connect with. So I think that's sort of um yeah, sort of the journey we go on. I think probably some people are like, please don't change it anymore. But it's like they're such small changes that old person might notice them. You know, it's like sort of like they're things that feel big to us when from the outside eye people might not notice, but we know.
We
You know?
know. We know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they go, oh, that scene, yeah, what do you think? Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, it was just like last time. And you're going, it
yeah,
wasn't.
yeah, exactly. It was. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
There are some changes you never see, you fool. Anyway, but it's oh, but the play. I mean, again, I could do another 10 podcasts about Susie's latest play. Honestly, I've done so many on Prima Facie, but bring it on, bring it on.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's such a dense play. I get an image of like Rosman coming in for a day of rehearsals, and she's just learnt like a chunk of the script. You know, like the day before. Okay, we're going to do chunk 6 tomorrow, Rosman. You know,
yes, yeah,
she's come in and she's gone, right, yes, I've got chunk 6. It's in my head. It's in my body. I'm ready to go. And you walk in and goes, oh, yeah, yeah, we've cut half of it. And we've rewritten it. It's like, so could you just learn that again, please? And you're just like, oh, for God's sake. It's, but I imagine, again, I assume now, of course, but she strikes me as an actress who, even if that was a situation presented to her in rehearsals, she'd
hmm
just go, okay, cool. Yeah, I'll just give me the script and I'll go and do it. And,
yeah,
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 but was that the case?
yeah. I think we sort of, you know, I think with new writing in general, like there's a resilience that that actors have to have, and it's sort of uh it's a beautiful thing to witness, but it's also it's so hard for everybody involved, because there's these moments where you kind of feel like, okay, we kind of feel like we need to stick, but we're also just, I think, just one little draft away from it being exactly what it needs to be. So
Mm,
do you reckon we should change? Shall we change it? I think it needs changing. I think, and then, you know, I think the great thing about this show, and I think everybody that worked on it, is that I think we all knew that we were heading towards something that was going to be good, and that we
mm,
wanted to work hard to make something great. So it was sort of like we were like, we could make this good or we could make it great. And
mm.
I think we all knew that that meant that there were tricky moments for everybody, for all of us having to like create this thing and have to in such limited time with, you know, and we're very grateful we had like kind of a good resource. Like we were, you know, we had nice resource. So it means that that meant that we could do those things. And, but, yeah, I think we all just had to sometimes be like, okay, we're going to have to just, you know, I'm going to have to sit and rewrite all my notes early tomorrow morning so that we can get a rehearsal and so that we can get forwards and move forwards. And you know, we just all had to really just like, yeah, just harness a bit of faith, I think, in the process. Um, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I think just yeah, Rosamund was amazing at being like, okay, now I need to learn this bit, and now I need to learn this bit. And I mean, like, amazing. I could never retain that many words, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean,
And for Flora and for Flora to do it too is an incredible thing, you know. Um, yeah, it's a wild amount of words.
it's insane. It's
Yeah,
insane. I've spoken to the understudies of Jodie for Prima Facie, and
yeah, yeah,
one question I always ask them is like, how did you do it? How did you learn this thing? And obviously now, as an actor, I know learning lines, that's the easy bit. Is actually
hmm
finding the layers and colors and motivations and all that. That's where the real sort of work lies.
yeah,
But still, I mean, you've got to do all that and learn a mammoth of a text. And credit to everyone who's been involved in this, and who do learn these huge parts. And
yeah,
yeah, when I interview Rosamund, I will ask her that question as well.
yeah,
But yeah, but speaking of like colors and layers and everything, this play is so dense. It tackles a huge topic, a very, very relevant topic. As you
yeah,
said there, we live in a world that's changing fast all the time. But I think what Susie and what you guys have done, you've tapped into something that's very, very present right
hmm
now. And I mentioned to Flora, the series Adolescence on Netflix, Stephen Graham, Jack Thorne, they've tapped into an area because, again, I said this before, but my childhood was our summer holidays in school was getting on our bikes, going to the park or going to the local shopping centre and doing
hmm
some shopping. And our mobile phones, our old Nokia bricks at the time,
yeah, yeah,
were kept in our pockets the whole time. We didn't get them out. The only time we got them out was to either send a text or call our mums and say, we're going to be home in 10 minutes.
yeah, yeah,
That was it, or snakes and ladders,
hmm
And, but nowadays, these kids as young as 12, 13, 14, or in Harry's case, he is 18,
18, yeah,
18,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, he's 18.
well, teenage years, whatever it may be, are able to access stuff which is not only just, well, violent as they even begin to cut it, but horrendous material online just by the click of a button.
Yeah, yeah,
And if that feeds into their psyche and their brains haven't fully grown yet, and they think, oh, is this the attitude you have towards women or other people? And you know,
hmm
what happens in the play happens. But you know, I mean, yeah. Well, what does this play mean to you exactly?
yeah. I think it's so, I mean, when I first read it, and I feel like a lot of people say this as well, and I
Yeah.
think when you read the script, like if anyone ever gets, if you do buy the script, do read it because the pace in which Susie writes at is sort of incredible, and then Justin's direction just allows it to get even faster, which is sort of this
Oh,
amazing
definitely.
thing. But it's
Yeah.
there's a pace to the writing, but it means that you just go and you just read this thing from start to end. And if there was a moment where I was like, I think I'm meant to leave the house, I'm meant to go somewhere else, I'm gonna have to text them, I'm late because I'm halfway through, and I am so worried about what is going to
Yeah.
happen, and I feel stressed, like I feel absolutely stressed. But I think it's sort of the play to me. It talks about a lot of things. I think that it's important for us to recognize the truth in which these young people exist in currently. I think
Yeah.
the truth of our time and kind of the dangers that are all around us, and also the kind of that we love to think that, oh no, but it wouldn't happen to my kid, or it wouldn't happen to,
Yeah. It
that,
wouldn't
these
happen to me. Yeah.
things. Yeah. And, I think that this showcases that, I think Jessica does try to do what she thinks is best. And I don't think I don't think it's on just her shoulders. It's on lots of people's shoulders. There's so many reasons and so many contributing factors that lead to what happens. And I think that's the beauty of Susie's writing is, and kind of what Flora's talking about when people leave, is you hear them all trying to seek an answer. And actually the answer is multiple things. Like the answer is multiple things. It's about
Yeah.
parenting. It's about what they have access to. It's about phones, it's about friendship, it's about pack mentality, it's about, there's so many things at play. Alcohol, there's if you actually go through, there's all these different things that contribute to what happens. And it's like, I think in our society at the moment, we love to try and just put responsibility onto one thing, and therefore that thing holds that responsibility. And then because we can't change that one thing, we think, well, then that's it, it's done. So let's just not bother.
Mm.
When actually, I think it's about noticing it all and then trying to think about how we can make small changes and big changes on all those things. So yeah, and even the kind of like my parents watch a show, and my dad, like he's not a big like theatre person, but I think has probably grown to be a theatre person because
Mm. Because of you.
theatre child now. So kind of like it's like, okay, I'll come watch this show. But
Yeah.
it was always massively kind of like he really responded to kind of the dad. There's a scene with the dad where he kind of talks about the truth of how he's feeling about it, and how it's kind of making him feel. And I think that is a really important scene. And that scene grew in the rehearsal room. That scene grew with the actors, with Susie responding and absorbing what the room was talking about, and like all of the research and all of the information that everybody was bringing to that room. Susie took that away, and that scene was born. And I think I'm so glad it was, because I think actually a lot of the men in the audience respond to that scene. They really
Yeah.
hear it. In a really and in a really different way, and then kind of like, so everybody notices something different in the play. They hear
Mm.
something different, they respond to a different moment, but they kind of are listening, which is the key, really, that everyone's sort of listening.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Again, we mentioned to Flora that, she heard people outside the stage door going,
Yeah,
Dad in particular
yeah.
going, oh, I think I need to go and talk to my son about some stuff. And
Hmm.
and I'll tell this story again. I took some friends of mine to go and see it. We saw the cinema broadcast as well.
Yeah,
I was lucky enough to see it at the National in person in September of last year, and then of course it got sort of cinema. Let's go. So
yeah,
so we took him to the cinema, and he was like, and he's not a big theatre person. It's a bit like, I suppose, a bit like your dad, really.
yeah,
Like, he knows it exists, but
yeah,
he's not like a massive fan of it. But I said,
yeah,
no, come and see this play. I think you really, really enjoy it. And he was like, "Oh, okay, fine." So we managed to get him along. And of course, what happens in the play with Harry, and we came out afterwards, and he was kind of stone faced, like he didn't really know what to say. And I said, "So what did you think?" And he said, "Yeah, yeah. I had to stop two of my friends from doing that."
yeah.
And it's
That's
like,
wild, isn't it?
I'm
Yeah,
like, really? He said, yeah,
yeah,
I'd stopped two of my friends from doing that back in the day. Yeah.
yeah,
And again, I mentioned this as well for probably, I've told the story a few times now, but people probably hearing this for the first time on this episode. When I was in school, we had on very good authority that when we were 13, 14 years old at the time, so still underage, some of the popular crowd, in heavily inverted commas, there was nothing popular about them at all, but they went to a party one night. It went on to the early hours of the morning. Everyone crashed in bedrooms and in the living room, etc. And we heard that one of the boys, raped one of
yeah,
the girls while they were asleep,
yeah,
early
yeah,
hours of the morning.
yeah.
And as far as I'm aware, there was no police investigation.
Hmm.
That idiot ended up being kicked out of school anyway for stealing, but not
Hmm.
for what he did.
Hmm. Hmm.
And again, as far as I know, there was no investigations. There was no police. There could have been. There could have been. I don't know.
Yes, yes,
Yeah. And
yeah,
I was, that play reminded me of that. I'd forgotten about that for so long,
yeah,
and I thought, oh yeah,
yeah,
that happened to us. Someone did that in our year.
yeah,
But at the time, this was pre-social media, and of course, I mean, if it had happened now, I mean, like it actually, that's a good lead on, I think, to what Harry's situation is. Yeah, big spoiler. Sorry, guys,
Yeah.
but he claims he's innocent
Mm.
the whole time, and of course, there's a brilliant scene at the end where you realise he's not.
Yes.
But he says, and of course, it's all over. He goes, "It's all over social media. They're calling me a rapist, calling me a
Yeah.
pig, and it's like, yeah. I mean, if information gets out there and
Yeah.
people confuse opinion with fact,
Yeah.
in this case, it is fact. But
Yeah.
but the
Yeah.
majority of the time, it is when it's not fact. You can get hounded and hounded for something that you didn't do.
Yes. Yes.
And that's why things like Twitter, or Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
it's a,
It's a wild
excuse my
place.
language, it's a fucking cesspool.
It really is. It's
Yeah,
really intense in there. It's it's an interesting thing that like I think that it's really hard. You know we have some people that come and it's a really hard watch for them, and I think that that is um I think I'm very grateful to those people for coming and watching it, because to have to come and watch that, and it linked to anything anyone's experience is obviously awful, but also the people that come to watch it, that there's a lot of people in the audience that it's not a surprise to them that those things happen, which is the problem in the world, where it's like it's not a surprise,
yeah, they're like, yeah, we see this every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a reality check in the fact that it goes, we need to fully unpack what this is and what we do about this, and look from it from a perspective of a boy. If he does then want to own up, what happens? And when he does have his life in front of him, what then is done? And the law system doesn't quite look at it in a way. It's very, it's kind of what Jessica says. There's so much around the law that doesn't support it, and kind of prima facie was also a bit about that, in the sense of like the law system from her perspective didn't really protect her. The law doesn't also protect him very much. So who does the law protect? It's like, well, who does it? Who does it
Exactly.
support?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think I yeah, I mean the kind of themes of it are very, it's what theatre can do. It can look at a story of something and it can go, this is a story, but this is a story that is true to a lot of people. Like there are a lot of people living this truth in a way, and
Yeah.
what do we do about that? And what's our responsibility? What do we do? What does everyone do about that?
Mm.
You know?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's a collective, yeah, and we realised that there are certain acts. Is it in, or where is it? I think it's in Australia, where their kids are not allowed a phone or a social
Yeah.
media account until they're
Yes.
16.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. In Australia. Yeah. It's under 16, isn't it? I think.
Mm. Yeah.
Um, yeah. And then some of the schools that have done it as well. It's interesting. Like the schools that have done it, they were sort of anti it, and then now they're interviewing people, and actually the young people are actually really enjoying being at school and not looking at their phones.
Mm.
Yeah. It's about, yeah. What to do about that? It's tricky. It's tricky.
Mm. And there's I love the dynamics in the play as well, because you can tell that Jessica's got a really, of course, she's, yeah, Harry's her son, of course, but there's a
Yes.
really really strong mother-son bond there, and on
Yes.
anything. And I love the scenes in the beginning where that little doll you've got at the beginning in the yellow jacket.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, kudos to the props department for that.
Oh my
That
God.
was,
Yeah. What a journey.
oh yeah, was it a journey with that?
What a journey. I feel like we spent so many days just being like, is this standing up properly? Is it not standing up properly? Is it the right yellow coat? Like all teams, like all together in one room. Many a time I sort of like, there was a few moments where we'd just stand around and just be looking at yellow coats. And I'd be like, okay, is it going to achieve what we want it to achieve? And even this time around, sort of like going up to Mary, who does props, and I went up to Mary and I said, Mary, I think the hood on it is it's slightly tipping forward, so it looks like he's kind of looking down at the ground, which is not what we want. We want him to be looking like just straight.
Yeah.
It's like the smallest things, but also the things that make a big difference to how an audience read it.
Oh, massively, yeah.
But I love the yellow coats as well. I'm a big fan of the yellow coats.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I get an image of like you guys lining them all up, and then
literally.
suddenly Leonard Cohen comes into your brain. You're famous blue crate. No, 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 no. Sorry,
Yeah,
sorry, wrong one. Yellow blue crate. Oh
yeah,
God.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, is that shade of yellow? No, that's a bit light. That's a bit dark. People go, yeah, but yellow's yellow. No, it's not yellow. We've got yellow here. We've got yellow there.
Once you realise that there are different types of yellow, it all becomes different textures, different fabrics.
Oh God.
The whole
Yeah.
thing. It's a whole thing.
Yeah. Did you play the Coldplay song in rehearsals after that?
No, I wish we had. That's a good idea. Maybe I'll bring that into the. That's what I'll offer to the next time we rehearse it.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Um,
when you go to Broadway to ask the sound man in rehearsals to play
yeah,
that.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. That's a great idea. I love
Yeah.
that.
And it was all yellow. And by the end of it, you're like, oh God, if I see another yellow raincoat, I'm going to.
I know. I don't think I'll ever be able to wear one.
No,
I
no.
think that would
You
be
see
me done
why?
for now. I think it's just too much of an association with Harry now that I just like it just lives in that space and that space only.
Yeah, yeah. I know,
Um,
yeah. I mean, also there's this strong bond which they have, right from the beginning. Like you see, and I think there's another thing it highlighted brilliantly, both at the beginning and there's this scene where she's at the beach and
yes.
she goes,
Yeah.
well, what does Harry say? She's like, Mum, that guy's got a big head or something. What is it?
Yeah, well, he basically she says she's teaching him saying like if somebody tries to touch your willy, you say
Oh,
no,
yes,
and
yes, yes.
then he says do not let this man touch my willy, and then a man like walks on the beach, this idea, and it's like, oh my God, no, we're not talking about you. I'm so sorry. When she's just trying to teach her son to like his about his own autonomy and his own,
Yeah.
like being like you have to, and it's a sort of a gorgeous moment, but also she's doing it in such a silly way, and then the layers that come into this play, like Susie said, because Susie obviously worked in the law for a
Mm.
long time before she
Yeah.
she
She's a
started to
barrister,
write,
yeah.
like whilst writing plays, and before she started writing plays, and as a barrister she said she saw so many things that then when she became a parent she just knew it was impacting her parenting because she was so afraid of all of the things that she had heard about
Hmm.
that she would sometimes stand there and say things and be like, a normal parent wouldn't say it like that, but I'm going to say it to you like this because it's really serious, And I think that it's weaved into that scene so beautifully, and the way Rosamund does it as well is kind of just really lands it really well. But it means that the audience are kind of laughing, but they're laughing because it's actually a beautiful moment that she's trying to actually do something, but you can also see that she's sort of like being slightly irrational about it. Like
Mm.
all the kid has said is that the teaching assistant at school helped him do a drawing. So it's like it's really come from nowhere. It's really just like, you know. But yeah, I think we sort of see that in Jessica throughout. She sort of does jump onto things, and as we go through, she ends up jumping onto stuff that isn't quite the right thing, but she does sort of like jump to 100 sometimes quite quickly. Um, but it's an interesting thing that then she doesn't that the end there's all this space and she doesn't jump. She sort of lets him open up and him tell the truth.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, the final moments where she said, I think she just says to him, she leads him to the police station, said, right, let's go.
yeah, yeah.
And I thought, I can't imagine, 'cause I'm not a parent as of yet, but you know, as a parent, or more specifically as a mother, you know,
Hmm. Hmm.
and you're
Yeah,
leading your own,
yeah,
I
yeah.
can't imagine what that would do to a mum's
No,
psyche. I mean,
no.
I
The
mean,
Yeah.
scary, scary.
Scary, and the like internal conflict of that I think is what a lot of people respond to. I mean, the different people I've spoken to that have watched the show are like, what would you do? That is, what would you do? And would you, if you knew the law, would work in his favor, would you allow it to? And it's such a big question. Like, if you absolutely knew, like, she knows as a judge, based on all of the evidence that they've heard, that it will likely lean in his favor. What do you do? It's just, it is
Yeah.
really a big moral question. And I think a lot of people would have an opinion on it, but their opinion might be different if it was actually an experience they were having, you
Hmm.
know? Um, and I think it's the biggest question of the show, really, in the end.
Yeah.
Um,
And I've got to mention that final scene as well. I know I mentioned it before, but again, the subject of innocence, you have the kids that come on at the end.
yes,
And
yes,
by the way, the soundtrack of this, again, incredible. I mean, and there's one in particular where a young Harry goes down the slide and
yeah,
it's like a beat drops and it's like this wall of sound which
yeah,
appears. I mean, what was it like seeing, because you leave the audience with some powerful
yeah,
sounds and images right there at the end. That must have been quite a thing to like say, yeah, we did that. I think Lucy said that
yeah,
as well. It's like, yeah, we did that. It took a long time, but we
yeah.
got there in the end.
Yeah, it's sort of the thing that always chops and changes. So I guess it's as an associate as well, I work with the kids. So my
Mm.
job is the kids a lot of the time as well. So
Yeah.
I teach them the show. Yeah, I'm like in charge of making them act, helping them on that journey. Because obviously in theatre you have three sets of kids
Yeah.
that rotate
Mm.
because of like their rights. So you have
Yeah.
like a different kid on in the lead roles each night, and then we have two kids on standby, and at the end they all run around basically. But that last moment, we worked hard to find that. The music itself, I mean, Erin LeCount and James Jacob, they offered us that track, and it was instantly the track that we knew we wanted. You know, it
Mm.
instantly worked. Like, it wasn't, we were never questioned that those words that Erin is singing, that music, it was perfect. It was, the music was instantly exactly what it needed to be. Me, Justin, Lucy, the team, kind of, Nick Pinchbeck, who's the music director, like, kind of also, Max Ringham on sound. Like, we
Yeah. Yeah.
tweaked things, and we needed to edit things so that the story landed, but the actual song itself was always what it needed to be. I In the rehearsal room, I think Lucy mentioned this, but like the first time we heard it and then the kids sort of ran around, it was like all the air left the room, and we were in a very big room. Like, we were in a very big rehearsal room,
Yeah.
and it felt like all of the air left that room. And I think we then were like, okay, how do we replicate that, and how do we get that into the theatre, and how do we make that happen? How do we kind of um work that bit? And it's we've always been editing it. We've always been kind of like, I think in the Wyndhams actually, the Littleton is a massive stage.
It's huge. It's
It's
huge.
absolutely huge.
Yeah.
Whereas in the Wyndhams, it's much closer to everybody. Like, you're very much like, it's a very steep proscenium. So kind of like that's the kind of the three tiers. You're very much like, you're very on top of the proscenium. So you're
Yeah.
really close. And it means that actually I actually think that end scene just had it's just we just have really found it now. I think it's to do with the closeness to the audience a little bit. I think it worked in the Liston, but in the Wyndhams, it really feels like it fills that space. Yeah, I mean, I love that. I can't listen to it really without getting like it has like a bit of an emotional. Yeah, I guess it's sort of like the way that we hold on to things that and the
Yeah.
things that we
Yeah. Yeah.
make.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful. I mean, also everyone should just go and listen to Erin LeCount's music in general,
Yeah.
because
She's brilliant. She's
she's
brilliant.
so incredible, and she also, she's so young, and came onto this project, and she was like, "Yeah, I'm here, and I'm going to do this," and she just offered so much beauty, and just actually, if you, I kind of ask people if they go and watch the show again to just listen to the score and listen to how her voice is sort of weaved in and out of the work. It's beautiful, and the sound that the sound team and the music team worked so incredibly hard as they worked with the kind of boys to do all of the live music that also is played by them, you know,
Mm.
composed by them. You know, it 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 levels up the play so
Mhm.
much. It lifts it for sure.
Yeah, I always often like also why does Jessica make her first entrance with a microphone and
Oh
there's
yeah,
music in the background? I always thought like, and then it was like, oh, if you look at it literally,
yeah,
yeah, she's a rock star.
yeah, yeah,
She's absolutely killing it at work,
yeah.
and yeah,
I sort of it's so funny because I think kind of the working as an associate, you sit down with the director sometimes and they go, okay, Grace, I'm going to pitch this idea to you, and you're going to tell me whether you think it's a good idea or the worst idea ever.
hmm
Justin goes like, so she comes up, live music, she comes up from the floor because she is a rock star, and then she's got all this backing, like all of this music, and you're just like, that is wild, but also absolutely brilliant. You know, like it's a great
yeah,
idea. Um, but yeah, it's sort of yeah. I think Susie wrote in the stage direction said Jessica Parks is a rock star, and Justin just took that and ran with it. And with all of the beautiful team that did the workshops and things, they just went, okay, let's run with that
it's a
and let's
very
see what happens.
literal reading.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Oh my God. No, but it worked. I mean, I'll be honest, I was a bit, when I first saw it, I was thinking, well, why does she make her entrance literally with a microphone and
hmm
a rock star and everything? And then suddenly I had to sort of like go through it in my head and it's like, okay. And also, when a judge speaks at
hmm
their desk, they speak via a microphone,
yes,
of course. The rock
yeah,
stars doing that, they're doing really well. And of course, her opening monologue is similar to Tessa in Prima
yeah,
Facie, which is, I noticed that I see the judge, I see him do this, I see him do that, I see my case winning, and boom, there we go, done. And then suddenly she's on. Oh, by the way, the tech shout out to the tech guys as well for like the FaceTime call, which you had,
yes, yes,
and you projected it on the two screen.
yes.
That was a feat, by the way. That was brilliant.
Thank you. We were like there was moments where we were like um worried it wasn't going to work because there was just too many phones in the building. Like like just like general technical things where you're like there's too many phones on, like a
Yeah.
bit like an airplane, like it's getting in the way of the signal. And
Yeah.
what do we do about that? It's the National Theatre. I don't think we can get less people in the building. Um yeah, I love that moment. I think also kind of Lucy found a beautiful kind of there's kind of the moments when she's got it down, the moments when she's got it up, the moments when you see it, the moments when you don't. It adds tension to what's already happening in that second scene. I think like it's just the beauty of making something clearer, and yeah, I think Lucy did a great job at that as well.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure, definitely. Um, who is Jessica to you?
Who is Jessica to me? So funny. I think Jessica I think because I work so closely with the understudies as well, and we had Louisa Klein was the understudy at the National, and then Flora Dawson was the understudy at the Wyndham. So I've actually seen like I guess now that like three Jessicas,
Mm,
um, and all are very different. Like all have their own, but what they all have is this sense of self and this real openness to the audience. And I think it's in Susie's writing, but I think Jessica is just this the way she shares everything with us and the way that she opens to us and the way that she from the very beginning is like you're my friends and I'm going to take you on this journey and we're going to go through it together. And I think that is something that all three that have played Jessica did so beautifully, and I think Rosamund does it every single day and she does it with great just I yeah I'm in awe of her every time I watch her because she just shares with the audience, and I think for someone to play a role like that, and Jodie was the same in a way
mm-hmm,
where it was just like I will tell every single one of you in this room this story and we will go through it together. There's not one person in the room that feels excluded from that,
mm,
and I think that's the beauty of Jessica is she just she's an open book and she's complicated and she doesn't always do the right thing and she doesn't always say the right thing. And I think that it makes her a complex, brilliant human being. And sometimes I agree with her and sometimes I don't. And I think that that's why I kind of love her. I
Mm,
think she's sort of, she isn't, yeah, she really is going on that journey. And I think, yeah, and I think she is a rock star. I think she is a rock star, but she's also complicated and
mm,
she's also got nuanced relationships and she's got struggles and yeah.
Okay, and the various tasks she does on stage as well, the ironing, the yeah,
Yeah.
was that your idea or was that a collaborative
It's
thing?
a bit of it's a bit of Justin. I think kind of conceptually it's a what we tried to do, I think, in kind of when we were talking about the work and as we were making it is this idea that she is talking to you and doing at the same time, and that she isn't always doing what she's saying, and that we can really embrace theatre as
Mm.
its at its base. Like it's theatrical, and sometimes Jessica's doing the ironing and she's talking about Michael calling her and she's steaming the iron, but and that's meant to be Michael kind of going like, like kind of like, like a huffing man. And you're like, it's so silly. And actually, it goes back to like when you make theatre at drum school, you make theatre in when I made theatre when I was, 13 years old and I was just in a room and all we had was a chair and our bodies and we were improvising and we were making work and you go, what if you do what if the iron is the husband and what if the thing is the thing and you just play and it's playful and I think that is the beauty of that work and she's dressing the salmon and she's doing these things and she's talking to her family and she's telling us stuff and she's juggling so much and that is representative of what the play wants to tell us. The play wants to tell us she's juggling so much and a huge thing happens and it gets in the way of the juggling. It means that all of the balls fall on the floor and she has to try and pick them all back up. And it's very conceptually kind of quite simple, but it just helps lift that bit of the story, I think.
Mm.
Yeah, we would always play around with and Rosamund like so openly would and the boys as well just were so open to just being like, okay, well, why don't we try this? Why don't we open this cupboard? Why don't you open this cupboard for me? And then I put the paper in, and then I come over here, and then you close it with your foot, and then you do this. And there's always that element of play, which makes our jobs as directors easier in a way because we're sort of responding and we're sort of making it together. I think there were moments probably where everyone was like, have we done too much? Are we doing too much? But you kind of just go like, the play needs it. Why not?
Indeed, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we hide the milk under the table rather than have it in the
Yes,
pocket,
yes.
yeah, all that kind of
Hmm.
thing. Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, but I again, it was yeah. Of course, got the karaoke as well and everything. I mean, this part is huge, honestly.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
but again, it's that. But I look at you guys and think it must be again. You're working on a brilliant play, and it must be just an immense privilege to be part of something like this
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
again, art it changes the fucking world.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such a privilege. And, I think, I sort of believe what I am very grateful for is that it's continuing to reach lots of people.
Yeah,
I think, I think NT Live it's sort of a brilliant thing in the sense of how it can reach more people. It sort of is, there are people that couldn't come down to London to see it that I know who live abroad who went to watch it kind of and a lot of people who live in Ireland who went to watch it there and I'm actually it's great that they get to see the subject matter now in its time in the time
yeah,
that we want it to be seen so I think there's beauty in that. I think obviously there's lots of things around that that's difficult. I'm like singing it in the theatre is obviously the way it should be seen but also it's like the way that that can reach others is also an amazing thing. It's a great privilege. I mean, I feel like I haven't really quite, I sort of like, you keep moving through and you're doing the work and you sort of don't really sit and go like, wow, that's actually such an amazing project to be working on, um and it's hard work to make something like this, from everyone's perspective, and the level of teamwork that is required is sort of why I always loved team sports. So I
Mm.
think it's that level of teamwork is just like thrilling, but also kind of intense.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
But you're building something really extraordinary, and you're always looking for new ways to improve and like new ways to keep it alive and stuff. And I think
Yes.
more than anything, but so obviously we know it's on the horizon now, Broadway.
Yes. Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
So how does it
It
feel?
is. Yeah, it's really exciting. I feel really excited to be going over and taking it over there. That is a bit surreal. I haven't taken anything over to Broadway, so that really will be my first time going over there with that. I have been to New York actually. I went when I was 18,
Mm.
and was just like there for like three nights or 4 nights, and was just like, wow, this is the best place in the world, and then kind of left. Um, but yeah, so I'm very excited to go back. I had an experience there, which I always think is kind of wild. And I was thinking about it the other day, which
Mm.
is I was with my mum and my aunt, and we'd gone over there, and was so excited to be there. And it was just an amazing thing to get the chance to go and be in New York, and sort of was like we were sat in Grand Central Station up at this little bar, and I
Mm.
was having like a Coca-Cola because I was 18 and I could drink at home but couldn't drink over there. And I was like, why have I chosen to come here? This is so weird. Like, I don't know why
Weird,
I've
isn't
done
it? Weird.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But and we were sat, and I'd just done the intro to directing at the Young Vic, and I was working in Argos full time, and I was, thinking about what I wanted to do. And this really weird coincidence happened where
Mhm.
a man we were talking about Chicago because we'd watched it the night before, and it was the only Broadway show I'd ever seen. We could only watch one. It was all we could get into, and obviously, things are expensive, and it was expensive for us to already have gone there. So we were, being savvy with our money, and we'd gone and watched Chicago, and we were talking about it. And then a man that was sat next to us, he said, "Oh, hi," and I said, "Oh, hi," and he was talking, and he said, did you watch Chicago? And we said, yeah. And he was like, why are you here? And I was like, we were like, oh, we're just here and we're visiting, and Grace loves theatre and blah, blah, blah. And he said, oh, well, I'm a theatre director. And we were like, oh, are you? And he was like, yeah, I'm directing Newsies at the moment. So he was directing Newsies at the time in New York. And then he said, oh, it was lovely to meet you, and I hope you get to come to America one day with a show. And it's so weird because I literally am just like, there's things that happen in life where you just go like, I was 18, I'd only just learned really what directing was. I'd only just like sort of, and then
Mhm.
just like how, coincidence, but things that also drive you and make you think like, what a full circle moment to go back. I'm not sure what his name is actually, and it was a really brief conversation. I never ever saw him again. Like it was literally like
Oh,
a fleeting interaction. Um, but I've been thinking about that since, like the idea of going to New York, how fun that is, and it's very sweet, and just how the world of coincidence, and just how things show themselves to you when they're important. I think just how,
yeah.
yeah, so very fun, but very excited. Yeah. Um, Good way to spend the next bit of the year towards the end of the year. So
Oh,
that'll be fun.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. You should go back to that point in Grand Central Station.
Yes, I should. I think I should, and
Just,
go and
just,
sit up there and see who sits next to me.
just sit there with
Uh,
a Coca-Cola and
yeah, yeah,
just see what happens.
yeah, yeah. I agree.
Who knows what
Who
can
knows? Maybe buy a lottery ticket whilst I'm there. I don't know.
indeed,
Like,
indeed.
yeah,
But
yeah,
God, yeah, no, but we all have these moments where we just think, like, I'm not sure, like, well, what's going to happen? What do I do, etc.
yeah,
Is it working? And then suddenly something comes along and it just goes,
yeah,
it is, and you go, ah,
yeah.
yeah.
I think this
I love
industry is
moments
like,
like that. Yeah.
yeah, this industry is like, you know, I think it's always funny coming onto this and like talking about it, and but it is such a tricky industry, and I've had gaps like over the last 10 years of working in this industry. Like I have had big old hard gaps and gaps where
Oh, we all have. We
I've
all
been
have.
very grateful for some of the other jobs that I've done and the things that I've had to do and the experiences I've got to have. And they've also not been in theatre, some of those, and that's like good, and that's okay. And I think it's I think those moments of doubt come, and that noticing things that make you go, okay, no, we're good. We're on the right path. We're on the right path,
Indeed. Indeed.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant, and yeah, go to Grand Central. I think that would be a,
Yeah.
and of course I know New York audiences are going to absolutely just love it. And
Yeah.
and one thing that I've heard, which I've experienced myself actually, is that they have the pre-clap before
Oh
the
yeah.
show starts. And like, if I'm a Brit in
Yeah.
the audience going, "What? Nothing's happened yet.
Yeah.
Why are you
Yeah.
clapping?" Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that,
It's
Brian.
such an interesting thing.
Yeah, I know Brian Cranston's talked about this as well. He said, he loves British audiences because, like, if Brit, Brit audiences, if they haven't enjoyed something, there's always just this like polite applause of like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, can I
Yeah.
can I go now, please? Can I go? It's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
The sort of half applause.
yeah. Or
Yeah.
whereas when British audiences stand up
Yeah.
like in unison,
Yeah.
then you've done something right. Because I
Yes.
think
Yes.
because we really care about our art and our theatre, and I could see that in your work as well on this as well. Is that one thing I love about you guys is that you care. You
Hmm.
cared about the fine details, even though it's tedious and rigorous. I can tell Justin cares incredibly, but you
Yeah.
guys care so much about making a great, great show with a brilliant story and a huge and difficult subject matter, but one thing that needs to be talked about.
Hmm.
And that's what creates lightning rod art or lightning rod theatre, like in this
Hmm.
case, and I think anyone who's listening to this who has seen the play via cinema or in the West End or at the National last year, whatever capacity, and I'm sure they look at you and say, thank you for helping me have that conversation with my kids, with my son or with my daughter or whoever it is, and
Yeah.
I'll leave names out of this story, and but I remember someone's daughter was planning to go to Australia, I think for I think about a year or so. They were going to go traveling, and the dad sort of sat the daughter down and said, "Look, when you go out there, promise me you'll be safe.
Hmm.
Like you're halfway around the world. I can't come and pick you up,
Hmm.
but know that I'm always here if you need anything, and just make
Hmm.
sure that you're safe. And if
Hmm.
you don't feel right with someone, don't go with them.
Hmm.
You look
Hmm.
after yourself and you stick with your friends, okay?" And and I'm sure plays like this have started that conversation about consent and all that as well. But I
Yeah.
suppose really just one last thing I'll say about Inter Alia really is just thank you for this
Oh,
play,
wow.
Grace. Thank you.
No, it really is a pleasure to work on this play, and I think plays that can have hard conversations are absolutely the beauty of what theatre can do. Thinking even back to, I know you mentioned Skeleton Crew earlier, but that
Mm,
is having a hard, we're watching four people have hard conversations and watching them live their lives and how it's impacting their lives, and how that links to today. I mean, obviously that was set some years ago, but not that much has changed in 16 years really since it was
yeah,
set, and like that showcases that, and plays that can have those hard conversations are beautiful, and you have to still lean into the theatricality and acknowledging that a lot of people in that audience have paid money and that they are there to see a performance too. So I think having moments where there is laughter and there is energy and there is like all of those things alongside other feelings, like it's allowing for all feeling and a mix of feeling. And I think that that's the beauty of theatre really. So yeah, it's been a pleasure to make this one. And yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose best of luck on Broadway as well.
Thank you.
I know it's going to be an absolute storm for you guys
Oh,
out there. So
thanks.
you've got nothing to worry about.
My fingers are crossed. My fingers are crossed that
No,
we're
don't you
all doing it
worry.
together, so we'll be all right.
Don't you worry. No, I've messaged friends who I've got in New York, and I've said to them like, get yourself a ticket to the show as soon as you can, and you need to go and see it. And it's at the John Golden Theatre. Is that right?
Music box.
Music Box, sorry. Yes,
Yeah,
yes, Music
yeah,
Box.
music
Yeah.
box.
So, yeah, Music Box Theatre this fall, as they say in
Yeah,
America.
yeah, yeah,
Fall in autumn, as we say over here.
yeah.
Get your tickets now, guys. Anyone listening in New York, just go and get those tickets now. Grace, this has been so much fun. Thank you very, very much for your time today. I really do appreciate it. I've just
Thank
got
you.
two quick questions left for you today. The last two questions for every guest. So, first of all, what would you say was a bit of advice you wish you heard when you were starting out?
I love this question, and I think probably a bit of advice I would want to say, and I kind of actually have touched on it slightly, but I think for me as a theatre maker and somebody who is still working at it and hasn't necessarily figured it out, but is working and loving it, and then we'll also have gaps and it will continue, is to be present and it not always to be about stepping stones. I think when we leave drama school, they tell us it's about, okay, you step to that stone, then you step to that stone, and then you get up to the big castle. And once you're at the big castle, then you've made it. And I think that isn't
With the
what,
flag.
yeah, like, and then you're stood there, and then you're like, great, now I'm here.
Now what?
And actually, I've learning to love every stepping stone, and I want to be able to be on that stone and be looking at my life around that stone that isn't theatre and be happy that I am making theatre, but I also have a life and I have relationships and I have people and I have things that I enjoy doing and I have hobbies and I have other things, and it allows my theatre to be more creative, it allows me to be more present, and it allows me to, I think it probably is the reason why I think I once I learnt that, the jobs that came have been the jobs that I've wanted to do and the ones, and I've then been in the places that are meant for me. Um, so I would tell my younger self that, because I think those early years I was just like jumping around being and feeling like I was never in the right place. Um, so yeah,
Yeah, I love it.
that's right. Yeah.
And yeah, no, for sure. Enjoy the stepping stones, enjoy the hustle, enjoy the
Yeah,
climb, more than
yeah,
anything.
yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah, finally today, what would you say has been an experience or experiences you've had in your career up to now that you'll never ever forget?
I think I've got two, and I know that's really annoying,
No, 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 no,
but I've
nothing
got
at
two.
all.
I think one is just really simple, but I think it is actually kind of working with sort of a moment that I really like, kind of um Luke, um Thomas and Flo, who are the understudies on Inter Alia, and also with Louisa when we did our understudy run, the two understudy runs I've done with both groups, um when they have had the chance to give it a good go, I felt very proud, and it's been a bit of a pinch me moment, because the show itself obviously has been a pinch me moment, but I think I think that watching people pull energy from absolutely the farthest corners, and having absorbed and having to give something a go and not have like all of the resource that you've watched everyone else have, but you've done exactly what you needed to do in that time, I think for me has been a really beautiful experience. And I think it's a hard experience, and I think it pushes you a lot, and you're doing, when you're working with understudies, you're at the edge. You've already worked 80 hours that week, and you're then in a room with the understudies and you have to give them your 100%. And I think for me, that's a big career moment, to like really pull on that energy and to like learn what that is and how to learn to transfer something from what you're making to another group of people and for it to be theirs. I think is one of the is a big experience for me. I think my other experience is probably the job that I got at the Donmar, actually, and it was getting the resident job there and having a year on a salary in a building as a director.
Mm.
And I think I was really at a cusp where I wanted to give up, and I had done a few things and I'd been working very hard, and I sort of had got to a point where I thought, kind of what I was saying about being present, I had felt like it was imbalance, there was an imbalance,
Mm.
and I felt like I just wasn't sure if I could sustain,
Yeah.
and like even just financially, just like that was really what I was being faced with. And I think actually by putting down my guard and putting down my thing and going into that interview and being like, this really is it. Like, I'm ready for this job now. And if I don't get this job now, I'm probably going to go, you know?
Really?
And yeah, it was just really weird. It was a really big turning point for me. It felt huge. And I'm it was a big moment to get that job, because it weirdly, up to that point, I'd been directing. I'd been assistant director at, Royal Court. I'd done The Young Vic. I'd also directed plays that had done tours. Like I was working as a director, but the industry hadn't quite seen me as a director yet. And weirdly, once I did the job at the Donmar, everyone was like, "Okay, Grace is a director." It's just so interesting the way the industry works.
Mm.
Frustrating, but true, and it is
Frustrating but
kind of
true.
how it
Yeah.
is. Yeah. So that was a really big career moment for me, and then it sort of then from there it's sort of like just allowed me to, and I opened the door to lots of experiences, which it means I'm here now, and I'm very grateful for that. So yeah, I think it was a big career moment for me.
Undoubtedly.
Yeah,
Undoubtedly. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
And again, congrats on that, and on the success of Inter Alia, and
Thank you.
everything in between. And again, enjoy Broadway. I'm sure it's going to be a brilliant, brilliant experience. So just quickly, what were the dates of Broadway? How long are you there?
Oh yeah, we open previews 10th of November.
It's my
10th of
birthday.
November, and then it runs through till I think maybe the end of January.
Oh,
But I
wow.
could be wrong. But it's definitely on the internet. But I think it goes through into the new year. Yeah,
Brilliant. Nice one. You have Christmas in New York this year.
I know. Well, I'll probably be back by then. I'm probably going to go over just as the associate, and I won't hold the show in the same way. But
Mm.
I might have to go back over just to see them at Christmas, because why not?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And Christmas in New York, yes, please.
yeah,
I will be there. I'm part of this
yeah,
project too.
yeah.
Indeed. Oh, goodness. Yeah. But no, I'm sure it's going to be great. Grace, thank you very much for
Thank you.
today. It's been honestly a really lovely chat to have you. It's been great to have you here today. It's been a really good chat talking about Inter Alia again. I love talking about this play and Susie's work and the process behind it, how it all came together. It really is great. I've still got so many more things, but I'd love to ask you about your resident time at the Donmar. I know you just mentioned it there and everything, like the day in the life, choosing plays, all that stuff.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
we'll get onto that at some point in the future. I think
yeah,
let's definitely do this again sometime.
yeah.
And again, good luck with Broadway and whatever else you're up to at the moment. And thank you very much for your time. And honestly, it's been great. And thank you for being so generous with your time as well. I do appreciate that. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks so much. I've really enjoyed it.
No, it's been great. Thank you. If you just hang on, I'll finish the recording. We'll have a debrief and then we can shoot back to life. But yeah, in the meantime, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. This has been the Uncensored Critic podcast. I'll be back very, very soon. And Grace, yeah, until next time. But thank you so much.